morning, guys. Well, great to see so many familiar faces as well. I just want to start out by thanking Lacey Abbott and Ron Biscardi, and as well as Courtney for allowing us to be here today to talk about something that is so impactful to myself, Inspiring Children Foundation. For nearly 3 decades, ICF has been a leader in youth development and mental health. For the last 25 years, the program has tapped into a child's passions, art, music, entrepreneurship, sports, tech, AI, robotics, to help motivate youth to engage in their mental health. ICF helps youth facing anxiety, depression, suicide, addiction, and other issues to heal, grow, and perform at the highest levels. 6 days a week, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., plus 5 transitional homes for children and families in need. ICF reaches millions online and serves thousands in person. I'm now honored to introduce 16-time Grand Slam champions. They've won 120 titles, Olympic gold medalists, and they are also the co-chairs of the Inspiring Children Foundation, Mike and Bob Bryan.
Thank you, Trevor.
Thanks.
Where's the gold? Where's the gold?
The gold medal.
Let's somewhere in here.
He always keeps it in his
So
pocket.
you got to travel with the gold.
There's the. I got a lot in my pocket here.
There it is. There it
We
is.
pass it around.
Yeah.
There.
Good job, Mike. Way to go.
Take it.
I'm also thrilled and honored to introduce Ryan Wolfington, who is the president of Jewel Inc. and also the founder of Inspiring Children's Foundation. Thanks for being here, Ryan. I'd like to start out with Ryan. Ryan, what motivated you to start ICF, and what did you see about mental health that others didn't?
So in my 20s, I know that Ron's from Philadelphia. I grew up in Philadelphia, a very entrepreneurial family. We knew how to work hard, and I just figured if I work hard and I'm successful, I'll be happy. So at the age of 26, I was president of a company in the technology space and the gaming space, and I had achieved every dream I had thought of, but I still felt a longing and almost an impending sense that if I don't address some things about myself internally, it's not going to go well for me as a father, as a husband, as a human. So I took the skills that I used to use to restructure companies and say, well, can I do that for myself? And can I restructure me? Because I knew I had weird things in me. I had jealousy, I had insecurity, I had anger. People that worked with me were like, oh, you do great things, but you're like a time bomb, you know? And I just made a decision, like I'm gonna take some time to really learn how to master my own emotional mental health. Looking back, I would have had depression. I would have had a lot of negative coping mechanisms that I think most people have, right, to some extent. And when I found out how incredible I felt, and how peaceful and joyful and motivated and how much extra energy I had to even do the superficial external things like perform at the highest levels. I was like, why didn't they teach me this in high school? Yeah. Like I felt almost conned. Why didn't I learn this at Villanova University? And so when I started the foundation, which was kind of a thing I always wanted to do at when someone helps you, this guy Brian O'Neill really helped me when I was young, it makes you want to help others somehow. And so when I started the foundation, I'm like, I'm going to put at the core of it emotional mental health. Like that's the core. And and back then, Dan, who's in the audience, the CEO of NAMI, there was no mental health organizations other than like NAMI, maybe some other small, it just didn't exist. The word mental health didn't exist. It wasn't discussed. If people heard it, they thought, oh, schizophrenia or just an extreme version of what mental health is. But the truth is every one of us has mental health. It's like we have physical health and nutritional health and emotional health. And if we're not addressing that, we're not fully living. And I wanted to make sure that these kids had that opportunity.
Yeah. How is your program different than just traditional therapy?
So when mental health is not a thing in society, first we had to figure out how to talk about it in a way that didn't alienate people. So the language is non-clinical, it's not intellectual, it's a language that a youth, and an inner city youth in particular, can relate to.
Yeah.
And I give my doctor friends a hard time, like, why do you need to use a word that's more complicated and nobody knows what it means? Like, let's use a word that a 14-year-old will understand or a parent will understand. And then second, when we do surveys of our youth, what do they say? Like, necessity is the mother of invention. We had no money. We're doing mental health. Nobody understands what that even is. Very few employees. I'm a volunteer, always have been. Like, how do we make this work? Well, we had to find ways to do it for nothing. And luckily, we stumbled upon what AA and figured out a long time ago, which is peer-to-peer support is extremely powerful. Think of the person who's impacted your life the most. Who is it? Just think of that person. Are they a psychiatrist? Sometimes it is. Is it a psychologist? Is it an MD that taught you how to get, who gets you in shape more than anybody? Your MD or your yoga instructor and your fitness instructor? So we figured out organically and by necessity, and our surveys show us when they're finished and we say, what helped you heal? And we have a 97% remission rate. What helped you heal? It's almost never number one, the psychologist, the therapist. We have we have a clinical supervisor and therapist. It's typically my peer mentor, the environment, the passion that I found through the program, and it's a full wraparound program. You can't wait till Tuesday when you have a meeting with your therapist to deal with the problem you have on Saturday night or Friday. You need it in that moment. So we have a full wraparound program where the second you are dysregulated or you're having anxiety or you're feeling like you're struggling with depression and you don't want to live or whatever it may be, someone's there. Multiple people are there. And the environment is there for you at all times.
Interesting. I also know that project-based learning is a big part of ICF, and the children actually help run the program. Is that right?
Yeah, so luckily I have a big family, Irish Catholic, and my aunts put me to work. We were the original child labor issues in America. I'm one of 7 and 85 cousins, and you walk over an aunt and uncle's house, you're working within like 5 minutes. And looking back in life, when I did have I call it the external success, I was like, well, what made that? I just could outwork anybody, and I could just figure it out. And it's because I always had a job. So when we started this, I kind of stole ideas from my aunts and uncles and said, the children learn most by doing. I mean, I ask you, did you learn more in your 4 years of college or 4 years of high school or in your 4 years of the first 4 years on the job? So imagine a school system where children are learning by doing real life projects in high school and middle school. And it was an experiment 25 years ago. We didn't know because we also do online schooling. So they're online schooling and then they're doing project-based learning. We're like, oh, well, I hope this translates to a good college education. And we in our leadership program, we have about a 3.6 GPA average of our kids in college.
Wow. Bob, Mike, obviously during the peak of your career, you guys are winning Grand Slams, winning gold, and you guys chose to partner with ICF. Why?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, we were lucky. We had 2 loving parents in our house that gave us a lot of attention. They taught us a lot of great lessons, and tennis also gave us that.
Yep.
But our idol was Andre Agassi. I don't know if you guys know who Agassi was, but or is. We had posters all over our room. We thought this guy was our god. So when we came on tour as rookie pros, Agassi mentored us, but his whole thing was use your platform to give back. Find something that you're passionate about. Hopefully it's a kids program and pick something that you really believe in. He said it would give us purpose on the tour. That's what he was playing for later in his career was to keep that platform alive so that he can make a difference with the kids. So he brought us to Las Vegas, saw his school that he built from the ground up. Now he's got schools all over the country, but he was beaming as he kind of walked us around the school. In Vegas, we met Ryan Wolfington right here. We saw what he was doing. We collaborated on a Team Bryan program, which is one of the pillars that he'll talk about. It's the physical component, but so it's an after-school program for kids. It involves tennis, mentoring, but these kids also learn all the life lessons that are important. Our parents didn't stress the wins and the losses.
Yeah.
They really stressed behavior, being a good human being, respecting your opponent, the umpire, calling the lines the right way. And the kids in this program, get that through the tennis that we've helped create. So
Yeah.
we're super passionate. Ryan's doing an amazing job. We believe in him more than any other program we've seen. 95% of these kids that enter ICF and the Team Bryan program go on and get college scholarships.
Yeah.
And it doesn't only stop there. They keep going with all the skills they learn. They become leaders in the community, and they go on to thrive. So we're proud to be a part of it. That's why we're up here today, because we really believe in Ryan and this program.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing that. Mike, I know mental health is really important to you. How do you think it has really impacted your career?
Yeah, I mean, we played on the tennis tour for 22 years. We were always striving to be the best. We had huge expectations, and it's not always a straight rise to the top. There's ups and downs, peaks and valleys. There's dark times. We struggled. I mean, speaking personally, I struggled with anxiety, a little depression, and I wish I would have, learned some of these tools that they teach at ICF early on. I kind of had to figure it out myself. Got into meditation, learned a lot from Ryan. I had a lot of great calls with him. Learned a lot from the kids in the program. Sure. But there's just, you have to be able to control your thoughts, your emotions, kind of separate your identity from the achievement and all that stuff you build and you chase for, because it doesn't give you like the lasting happiness. Sure. We've won some tournaments. We just showed the gold.
Just a few.
The gold, the high lasts, maybe a day, and then it kind of wears off. So you have to find that inner joy, that inner happiness internally, than trying to chase for it externally. So I think mental health is hugely important, especially for kids now. We're parents. Yeah. I have a 5 and 3-year-old. Bob's got teenager, and the world's speeding up. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's social media. There's a lot of pressures on these kids. Yeah. And they have phones and tablets, and they're just overstimulated like all the time. Yeah. But they gotta learn how to like self-regulate and kind of separate from their thoughts and emotions. And luckily, this is like what they're instilling in the kids: the practices, the techniques, the tools that set kids up for life. And we just love the curriculum, the ecosystem they've provided for the kids, and we're taking a lot of that and applying it to our lives now, and teaching our kids these things too. I know you guys obviously made it a huge priority. Do you see other players on tour, I'm just curious, that are really now implementing these tools? Yeah, I mean, Novak Djokovic, one of the best of all time. You see how he is consciously breathing on the court. You see him in the locker room meditating before matches, kind of just calming his nervous system. The best players can handle the pressure, right? They have ways to relax and to calm and to silence their mind, and handle the biggest moments. I mean, Federer was like a Zen master. Yeah, he's one of the best. Nadal's great. Yeah. You learn from some of these guys on tour, but Djokovic, you can actually see him in between points, letting the other point, that the failure go, not trying to think about the trophy, but he's really just staying in the moment with his breath. And that's what a lot of the kids, they do this on the court. They call them brain breaks. Okay. And they do it maybe like every hour on the court with the kids. They have the kids stop, close their eyes, and count their breath up to 10. Just simple. Nice. But they're just instilling and ingraining that with the kids. It's cool. Love it. Thanks for sharing.
And by the way, it goes both ways, because when we started, we couldn't really say, hey, come join a mental health program. Children would be like, not interested. So we had an entrepreneurship program, a music program, a high performance sports program, in our case, tennis. And they were like, yeah, I want to be a great tennis player. So we're like, well, if you want to be a great tennis player, then you have to master your emotions and your thoughts. And that's how the parents and the children got their head around what we were giving them. But at the time, Murat Safin was number 1 in the world, and he was, the bad boy of the tour. And it was cool to be McEnroe. It was cool to be angry. It was cool to be argumentative and emotionally dysregulated. And I had to argue with our kids and be like, you got to learn to let go of anger, let go of hate. And they'd be like, well, Safin, and I met Bob and Mike, and I just observed who they were as human beings. And I was like, okay, these are the role models. These are the people, went to Stanford on a full ride, straight A's at Stanford, NCAA champions. They just did the Hall of Fame. And you had all of these unbelievable athletes there, but the sound, the roar of applause for them was off the charts, because the amount that they've given back to other people and the way they built community and were kind and loving to their opponents, to the fans, is second to none. So I was like, that's who we want to work with. And I'll never forget being in Miami, and I picked you guys up at the airport, and we went to the Ritz because the Key Biscayne was right there. And Mike and I, you're getting Whole Foods, and they were like, back then people didn't really care about the food they put in their body. You guys were pioneers on so many levels, but we started talking about emotional health and mental health, and we talked for like 3 hours. And back then nobody talked about these things. And they were pioneers on the tour for how to take this holistic approach to be your best. I think it was, one of you said, had you not done the yoga and the meditation, you thought what did it do to the longevity of your career?
I think just as a professional athlete, there's a stigma with mental health. You're taught to not show any emotion. You're taught to just kind of swallow down feelings and just have this tough exterior. But it started helping talking to you. Doing the meditation really, I felt like it extended our career. I had the anger issues. I had a lot of stuff swirling around, and I was a perfectionist, and every loss I would think about it all night. I could have done this differently. So just gaining that level of awareness is that the mind can just go off on a tangent. You're not your mind. We all have this kind of negative inner chatter sometimes, right? And so that really helped. And then just instilling all the practices, the 10 pillars, just like you can do everything right, but get 3 hours of sleep. And what that does to your mind and your body, it's terrible, right? So the 10 pillars are the complete full enchilada of how to live your life, right? So I have, your life book in my room, and I read it just to brush up. So it's I swear to God, I wish we would have learned this. We had great parents and all this, but we didn't really have those tools that you guys are teaching the kids now.
Well, their parents are, arguably some of the best parents that I've ever met. He wrote a book, the father, How to Make a Champion in the Arts, Academics, and Athletics. And we stole about 60% of our program from them. To not only make being excellent as an individual successful, but also make it fun. And but we just added the emotional and mental health piece that Wayne and Kathy had, but we just formalized it. He's referencing our 10 pillars of healing and growth, and they're 10 different areas of your life. And we say, if you get an education in these 10 areas, and then you practice them, and you integrate it into your life, then you're not only gonna succeed, but you're gonna have peace of mind, you're gonna have joy, and then everything's gonna work out beyond your imagination. And it's never failed.
Yeah. Ryan, I know that when these kids enter the program, it's a real commitment. They're a part of it 6 days a week, 8 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Why have you made it so comprehensive?
Well, I'm a volunteer. I think we're at a conference of a lot of high-performing individuals. I think our strengths are weakness, but I'm definitely interested in performing at the highest levels. So if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it right. And I'm a little bit of a charity snob. I think some charities are Band-Aid-ish. Like, let's spend 2 hours a week or twice a week and we'll help kids. But I've found, especially if you're dealing with inner city youth, and really all children now, pretty much every child has some level of a mental or emotional issue because they're born addicted. They're born addicted to social media. For the small percentage of parents that are wise enough, I was talking to one of the speakers here, and she's like, well, my children are not doing screens. I'm like, that's genius. It's very hard to pull off. But they're all have some type of emotional issue. And in order to truly change the trajectory of someone's life, can't be done a few days a week. So no, we have feeder programs that are 1 day a week, 2 days a week, 3 days a week. But the whole goal is to get to the leadership program. And when you get to that leadership program, it's 6 days a week.
Yeah.
And it's 8 in the morning till 5 at night, or 2 in the afternoon to 7:30 at night. It's very comprehensive. It's a full wraparound. It's like, and for kids that may not have parents that are home a lot because they're working, or they don't have extended family in town, they don't have the aunts and uncles that I had that kind of raised me. You know, we are a full wraparound community that everything that they need, from immigration support, housing, life essentials, emotional mental health, passion finding, nutrition, oral template are all there. Yeah. And, you know, and the end result is, you know, 97% remission. 50% of our kids, we did a 5-year study, 50% of the kids came in either attempting to end their life or serious self-harm. And then the other 50% had either anxiety or depression, like one or the other. And when that same cohort graduated, 97% were in remission of any symptoms of depression or suicidal ideation. The ones that have anxiety, they have it, but they have tools to manage it. And then 100% of them got scholarships to college. And 58% of those colleges were tier 1 Ivy League schools. Off of my memory, Stanford, Harvard, Columbia, Georgetown, Dartmouth, USC, Wesleyan, Williams. And that's going to change the trajectory of their lives. Because if you're low income, if you go to a top historical school, they have really good financial aid. So you go for free and they give you a computer and they pay for your flights and everything. So these kids are now like, we just got a girl graduated from Brown. She's working in NVIDIA. This is a first generation Ethiopian girl who there's just no chance she'd be anywhere near those things. And she's thriving. She didn't want to live when she was 14, right? So I just think if you're going to do it well, and really make a change in someone's life.
Great. I know something I wanted to chime in on is that I think I find amazing when I go to the foundation in Vegas is people ask me sometimes, how long are you in this program? And you've said, this is a lifelong program. And when I go to Vegas and I see these alumni that are 35 years old now and they've been in the program for 20 years, of how they're giving back and they're helping that younger generation, I find that incredible. I don't know if you want to touch on that.
Well, I have a big family. You know, I have like 65 cousins and 37 aunts and uncles. And, you know, I don't know if you've ever seen like big families or even just how like the Jewish community really wraps around, even though they're not big families like the Catholics, they wrap around each other and like, oh, your cousin needs a job. Oh, you know, it's like this very supportive network. And organically, it didn't happen. We didn't design it. But I think when you put your heart and soul into something, it just creates a strong sense of connection. And yeah, like all of our alumni, a lot of them are entrepreneurs, doctors, lawyers, and they hire each other because they're also very competent. Sure. I believe that people who suffer with anxiety and depression when they're young are the gifted ones. They just are so gifted and sensitive and aware that they don't really know how to deal with a society that is not aware. They get overwhelmed and overstimulated, but they're the gifted ones. And if you give them tools to master their gift, they take off. And unfortunately, our society, even to this day, and Dan and I and a bunch of us are trying to build a mental health system in our country because it's pretty much non-existent. Support for those people didn't exist. Like if you have an issue with alcoholism, there's a huge system for you. If you have an issue with an eating disorder, they're starting to have really good treatment programs. It's not fully built out, but it's really good. If you have anxiety, depression, and suicidal ideation, it's like, where do I go? And some of the wealthiest people call me and like, oh, my daughter, my son, my cousin, can you help me? And it's like, there's only a few places. And that's a problem. We need to fix that.
How do you see yourself scaling this program?
Well, you know, I used to really despise that question because I wanted to have the best program in the world for children that don't want to live and then they love life. So why am I worrying about numbers when I'm talking about life? And charity's big flaw is it's a numbers game. So you have a lot of charities with low quality and huge numbers because the economics promote that, right? So I said from the beginning, I'm like, I want to be the smallest charity with the best outcomes. Now after our first 10 years, I was like, okay, I call it healthy scale. I can see a healthy scale. If we did like a music and mental health festival, that was successful. And then I saw like, we started partnering with the USTA, and thanks to Bob and Mike, our program's in 30 cities in America. Okay, that's healthy scale. And now with AI, luckily we've got like alumni that work in AI. And I work with Jewel, and Jewel's really good friends with some AI people. So 10 years ago, we were tuned into this, like this is the future. So we're using AI to take all of our curriculum and our best practices to make products and tools. So instead of us building infrastructure in every city, we just say, hey, NAMI, or hey, the national distributors like them, here's our curriculum. 25 years, it's proven, we've worked out all the kinks. It's not theory. No offense to my friends at University of XYZ. It's not theory. We've been doing it, and the children have given us feedback, and we know what works. Take these products. If you're a Boys and Girls Club, you can have mental health overnight. Just take these products and incorporate them. And that's really our biggest one. And then our summit, the Not Alone.
Sure.
We started the largest mental health campaign in history called the Not Alone Challenge. And then that became the Not Alone Summit. And that is a gathering of the top philanthropists, thought leaders, spokespeople, actors, musicians, poets. Bob and Mike came and spoke, athletes, about what mental health means to them in hopes that we can create a national system collectively.
Great. To touch on that, Bob and Mike, I hear USTA has scaled Team Bryan in 30 cities, and now ICF is scaling the program through the Not Alone program. How does this make you feel?
Yeah, and obviously, like I said before, we're very passionate about this program and excited about the results that we're seeing. We've been involved now 20 years, and we feel, the youth is our future, and to see more happy kids, more kids, dealing with their mental health in a healthy way, and being successful, and this is obviously opening the doors to a lot of future. So that makes us happy. We're happy to be involved and have a small impact in helping do these events or raising money for this organization.
That's great. I know you both this year attended the Not Alone Summit. How would you describe that experience compared to the day-to-day program that runs 6 days a week?
Yeah, I mean, that was amazing. I mean, first of all, the kids all put on the event, the project-driven learning. They worked on this event. They pulled off this huge, it was like Academy Awards winning event, a huge stage, great musicians, some of the best speakers about mental health, scientists, doctors around the world. So we were huge fans of just to learn about the future of mental health from some of the experts. There's musicians telling their stories, celebrities telling their stories, and it shows that you're really not alone, because some of the most famous people in the world all have mental health problems.
Sure.
And it was a really cool setup. There was saunas, ice bath, all the health stuff, all the future of biohacking equipment. We were playing pickleball in the morning. Yeah, it was just all immersive, the best food, buffets. And it was a first year event. So it was amazing.
Yeah.
And I think this could be one of the biggest mental health events in the country going forward.
Absolutely. I know I've been putting on events myself for 20 plus years, and it was by far the most proud I've ever been to be a part of an event. I would say of the 150 people there, I don't know if there was one person that didn't cry, including myself, during those 3 or 4 days. It was incredible.
But to see the kids pull it off, they ran it. They did the transportation. They met us at the airport. They were greeting the people. They were doing the gift bags. They were doing the audio visual. They're putting on the performances, telling people where to be, the green rooms. It was amazing. And to see them learn from that experience and to be in the boardrooms, making the decisions, being able to be creative was really good to see for those kids.
It was definitely one of the top experiences of my life. So, Ryan.
Well, it's like the Hamilton, in the room where it happens. You got to be in the room where it happens. And if you're going to close the digital divide or the entrepreneurial opportunity divide, you've got to give people, and give me a first generation immigrant family all day. Hungry, so longing to be better, and or there's someone who's like, oh geez, a single mom who's working hard but doesn't have enough money for her kid. Like, they are so ready to learn AI, to start a business. It's just, they see their future, and to give them that opportunity to equal the playing field is a high. And then put them in the room where it happens so they can start to see their future. Typically we'd have a handful of kids here. Anything we do, we bring them and they're involved. But yeah, it's a big part of it.
Ryan, you have a 97% full remission rate and 95% of students receive college scholarships. What do you feel is really driving these results?
Well, one, it's amazing how humble these guys are. Like, they always defer, but they're arguably two of the most advanced professional athletes in the world in a holistic approach to being your best. Physically, socially, emotionally, mentally. They've tried everything to get the slightest inch. I have a theory that you guys inspired Djokovic, but that's for a separate conversation.
Like he invented gluten-free.
No, he literally was like the first. I didn't even know what gluten-free was. And actually, I'm gluten-free. I'm like, what? He's like, well, let me tell you how the science works. So they are just always on the cutting edge of everything, not just being an athlete, but being a great parent, being a great spouse, and being their best. So I think having role models like that and having that philosophy, I like to be around those types of people. And our environment is like that. Everyone we hire is 95% of our staff are alumni. Mm-hmm. And they care. They're doing it because we don't have a lot of money, so like they had to do it because they care, because we had a tradition and we've changed this because as our alumni get older, they're like, this isn't a fun tradition. But we start at $25,000 a year. Because like, are you in it for the mission, or are you in it for the money? We don't have the money. We'll give you 25, and so what we can do, and every year we'll give you a raise. And our executive director was at like $45,000 for the first 10 years. We gave him a bump this year thanks to COVID. There has been more attention to mental health. But I think our staff is in it because they deeply care. If they had all the money in the world, this is what they would do. And I think our novel approaches of peer support, of creating an ecosystem of healing, not a one-on-one hour of healing, a whole ecosystem of healing. And for me, when I healed my depression and went back into the corporate world, the hardest thing by far was, how do I integrate my new sense of self-awareness to my day-to-day life? How do I go back to my friends and be like, no, I don't want to go smoke a joint to relax anymore. I want to do something healthier. I don't want to go drink too much like I used to. I want to do something healthier. How do I integrate my new best self into my work, where I used to just charge hard and not sleep or not, take time? How do I integrate that? Well, we're teaching these kids how to integrate that at a young age. It's just part of their environment. So I would say those are some of the bigger ones.
So I know you've been at this for over 20 plus years. Where do you see ICF in, say, 10 years?
Well, now we're opening, I work with Jewel, and she's not only a singer-songwriter, but she's definitely a mental health expert from her own lived experience and from it's her passion. It's why we work together. She has some cool friends. So I got to go to these events, and it's like they're talking about going to Mars and AI and robotics. And honestly, the first year, I'm like, this is just, I like all the cool people that are here, but like, this is too out there for me. There's no way this is going to happen for at least 30 years. And then one of our kids wanted to do AI when she was 12. That was like 12 years ago. And I was like, oh, I went to that event. Like, okay, let me see if I can call this guy and connect you with AI. And then I got more into it, and I was like, this is unbelievable. And so for about the last 5 years specifically, we've really been preparing our organization by learning AI, learning how to create agents, learning how to even understand the new AI economy, how the world's going to run. And I'm not saying I still have my head around it, because there's so many things we don't know. But the next 10 years, I would say forget the next 10 years, next 2 years. I think the next 2 years we're going to have more change in our organization and society than my whole life, and in the life of our organization. And we are very, very, very bullish on, we did a campaign challenges every summer. I just found out this summer we decreased screen time by our children by 67% by doing these fun games and challenges with prizes and get off the screen. So I used to do I used to bribe the kids and say, all right, if you get off Facebook, I'm going to take you to LA. So you have to quit Facebook for 2 months, and we're going to go to LA. I wanted them to feel the difference between their life with social media and their life without. But now I'm saying, well, you got to get on AI. And we've been teaching our kids AI literally since the day ChatGPT came out. We spend 2 hours a day with our kids learning how to use it, learning how to use AI. Now they're making agents, and our staff are making agents. Our staff are people that are managers of agents. They're not staff members, they're managers of agents that do the work they used to do. And I think that, that's going to be massive.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of where our focus is. So the next 10 years, really next 2 years is how do we use AI to do what we do better, to position ourselves. We've been underfunded and understaffed our whole time as a nonprofit. And we're 25 years. How many years are you guys?
46 years.
46 years. NAMI's an amazing mental health organization long before we came around. And so AI hopefully will close that gap and give us the employees we need, give us the resources we need.
I think something that's fascinating to me is similar to tech did with creating these tech houses, is you guys have actually now created an AI house at the foundation.
Well, we try to make mental health cool. It can't be like, oh, poor little kid with depression. That's not reality. The reality is, do you think Zuckerberg is a poor little kid? Do you think Elon Musk is a poor little kid? They had anxiety. They had mental health issues. They're on the spectrum, right? And no, they're rock stars. And so we make everything cool. And there was this thing called Hype House. Do you remember Hype House? Yeah. The YouTube houses in LA where they would make all this content. It was all the cool kids. And so we're creating AI house. And we're having our youth that are in college or post-graduating and say, come back and take a semester or a year, live in our AI house. It's gonna be a community of wellness, emotional, mental, and physical health. And we're gonna just do AI. We're gonna vibe code all day. We're gonna do projects for good. We're gonna use AI for good. And we're gonna also at the same time arm them with the education that this next generation is gonna need. Like you're gonna need to know AI or you're gonna miss out.
Well, we've only got a few more minutes. These last couple will probably be hard for you guys to answer, but what has been the most meaningful aspect of being a part of this program?
Yeah, just I think hearing the stories of the kids. We met Cheryl. Cheryl came in the program when she was about 12 or something. And we met her at a tournament. We got to know her a little bit. And then we were down in Australia playing the Australian Open, and I got a call from Ryan. He was in the hospital, and she had tried to take her life. And talked to Ryan. We ended up sending her a video. Mike and I were doing some music at the time in our hotel room, and with GarageBand, we wrote her a song. Okay. We sent it to her. Ryan said it gave her a boost. But then she continued with the program. She healed. She had a lot of growth. She started mentoring the other kids. She became like a real beacon of happiness. And then she was applying for colleges, and I guess she was getting denied to even the local colleges, Reno, and I wrote her a letter recommendation for Stanford. Ryan asked me to do that, and I remember writing that letter, and it just came out of me. I really believed in her, and I just was honest in my letter. And then come a couple months later, Ryan pulled us aside in the Miami Open and said, "Hey, Cheryl got into Stanford." Amazing. And that hit me really hard, and I don't cry very much, but at that time, the tears started flowing, just to see that her go from a youth with a lot of trauma, and to her be so happy and get into the college that we went to. And then she didn't only get into Stanford. Day one, she went around putting flyers around the campus, started a group called Wellness Buddies, and she was leading meditation sessions for students with anxiety, and now she's mentoring kids with problems at Stanford. She's up for the Rhodes Scholarship. She's got, I think, 3 scholarships at Stanford, so she's actually making money. And she's just killing it. So she's ready to graduate there, and I know she's gonna go do great stuff. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, and I've been to Stanford to visit her, and we've taken some hikes up into the mountains, and she's teaching me now. Like she stops me for a meditation. We have a deep talk. I don't think we've cried for 25 years until we started coming to Vegas to the program, or talking to Cheryl, and these kids really know how to have this connection where they get into their emotions and they express what they're feeling. And as athletes, we really weren't taught that. And I think that's part of the healing is you guys have created this ecosystem where they feel safe enough to be heard and seen, and they do it in group settings, and that's been really kind of eye-opening for us. And the other day I was at a wedding. I didn't even really know the guy, and I cried 3 times. So this has been healing for me too. So it's like
we just made a new hoodie. We do a streetwear line where the kids create their own businesses, and they do streetwear and hoodies and stuff. And Cheryl and I co-created a hoodie called I'm a Crybaby. Because the more you cry, the more you smile. You have to flow like a river. And if you're not doing that, you're dammed up. And but I just want to thank Lacey. Is Lacey here? But Lacey Abbott has been a huge help to us, and Ron Biscardi in general, all for this conference. And Trevor. I mean, Trevor's has been a huge help to our organization for the last 4 or 5 years. And a lot of the stuff that we do would not be possible without you guys.
Thanks, Ryan.
Well, thanks so much for being here, guys.
Guys.
Thank you all for listening.
Oh, and there's a reception. Was it 4?
4:15 meet and greet with the Bryan brothers.
4:15. You can take a bite out of the gold medal and meet Bob and Mike if you like.
Yours.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.